The Last of Us was plagued by complaints of bad casting, and The Last of Us 2 is not faring much better.
Bella Ramsey just snapped, and HBO never saw it coming. The Last of Us star, once the golden girl of Hollywood, was secretly erased from season 3, and she's not going quietly. Behind the scenes, insiders say Ramsey blew up at showrunners, deleted every trace of HBO from her life, and dropped cryptic revenge posts that have fans convinced she's exposing everything. But here's what's really shocking. HBO already hired her replacement months ago, and Ramsey had no idea. Why did they betray her? How far will she go to fight back? And most importantly, whose side are you on? Stick around, because this story gets even wilder. Bella Ramsey's fall from grace began with The Last of Us Season 2's controversial reception. While the first season earned universal praise, the sequel divided fans, particularly over Ramsey's unchanged appearance despite Ellie's 5-year time jump in the story. #NotMyEllie trended as viewers questioned whether she could portray the character's harder-edged evolution. HBO's aggressive PR campaign, featuring endless talk show appearances, only amplified the backlash instead of quelling it. Behind the scenes, tensions rose as ratings dipped and creative differences emerged. Though Ramsey had delivered exactly what directors asked for, she ultimately bore the brunt of fan frustration.
Ellie still looks and acts like a 14-year-old from season 1, even though she's supposed to be 19.
What began as artistic debates snowballed into a professional crisis, quietly sealing her fate with the franchise. The situation reflects Hollywood's harsh reality. When projects struggle, even talented actors become expendable. Ramsey's experience serves as a cautionary tale about the fragile nature of success in an industry that demands perfection but rarely provides clear answers. Behind the glossy veneer of The Last of Us Season 2's production, sources describe a fraught environment marked by escalating conflicts between Bella Ramsey and the show's creative leadership.
You sharing your autism diagnosis, I think, is going to help a lot of people. I mean, how do you feel about it, and why was it important for you to share that?
I feel great about it.
Yeah.
It's just like fun, and I was just saying down there, it's like I can now. It's a way that people like will see me like, why is Bella being a bit weird? And like now they get why.
You were like, now you know.
I'm like, now you know. It didn't feel like this big decision that I was gonna tell people about it.
Ramsey, known for her fierce dedication to the role of Ellie, reportedly pushed back against script decisions she felt undermined the character's integrity, leading to heated disagreements with showrunner Neil Druckmann and the writing team. Crew members recount instances where Ramsey refused to film scenes she deemed inconsistent with Ellie's established personality, demanding last-minute rewrites that disrupted shooting schedules and strained relationships on set. While some admired her commitment to the role, others viewed her resistance as unprofessional, with one anonymous insider labeling her impossible to direct during particularly contentious moments. The friction reached a tipping point when Pedro Pascal, Ramsey's on-screen counterpart and a stabilizing force on set, began distancing himself from the production amid rumors of his own dissatisfaction with the season's direction.
I felt very lucky, and I imagine it was challenging because you were coming in, and we'd been shooting for a few weeks already, and you just had to because for me it felt like I was kind of like rehearsing towards the world that we were going to be living in.
Without Pascal's mediating presence, the dynamic between Ramsey and the creative team deteriorated further, with reshoots and delays inflaming tensions to unsustainable levels. HBO, facing mounting pressure to deliver a successful season amid the chaos, grew increasingly impatient with the disruptions, ultimately viewing Ramsey as more of a hindrance than an asset. What began as artistic passion had spiraled into a reputation crisis, with Ramsey's willingness to challenge the status quo now framed as defiance, a narrative that would ultimately seal her fate in the franchise.
I'm sorry. That was acting. That's what that was. I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that.
The manner in which HBO severed ties with Bella Ramsey has become a case study in Hollywood's capacity for cold, calculated detachment. Unlike traditional recastings, which are typically announced with press releases or diplomatic statements, Ramsey's removal was executed with surgical precision. No phone call, no meeting, no acknowledgement of her contributions. Insiders reveal that her name was quietly excised from internal Last of Us materials, her character's arc rewritten to exclude her, and her likeness absent from future promotional plans.
Joel, I think I found something.
Whoa!
What? No, nothing. It's just your forehead seems bigger than last season.
The most damning detail? Ramsey allegedly learned of her replacement not from HBO or her representatives, but through industry whispers. a humiliation that underscored her sudden irrelevance to the franchise she helped build. The decision to bypass any form of closure or communication has been interpreted as a deliberate strategy to avoid public scrutiny, with HBO opting for silence over the potential backlash of a formal dismissal. This approach stands in stark contrast to the studio's usual handling of high-profile departures, where even controversial exits are framed as mutual or amicable. For Ramsey, the erasure extended beyond professional ramifications. Social media posts related to The Last of Us were deleted, interviews canceled, and her digital footprint as Ellie systematically scrubbed, as if the role had never existed. The message was unmistakable.
Like most people, I liked the first season. I thought they did a great job. Season 2, I was skeptical on them not recasting Ellie and keeping Bella Ramsey as Ellie because it's supposed to take place 5 years into the future, but obviously Bella Ramsey in real life was not.
In an industry where relationships dictate longevity, Ramsey had been deemed disposable, her once celebrated performance now treated as an inconvenient footnote in the franchise's history. In the wake of her abrupt removal from The Last of Us, Bella Ramsey's silence has been anything but quiet. The actress, who once actively engaged with fans and shared behind-the-scenes moments from the series, began systematically erasing all traces of her involvement in the franchise from her social media platforms. Gone were the playful TikToks, the candid set photos with co-star Pedro Pascal, and even promotional posts that had once been a cornerstone of her online presence. In their place, Ramsey began sharing cryptic messages that fans quickly interpreted as veiled commentary on her situation.
How has your own personal journey changed since the start of the show?
It's changed a lot. I feel like I really grew up during the first season and then again the second season.
Quotes about betrayal, resilience, and the fleeting nature of loyalty in cutthroat industries. One particularly telling post featured a lyric from The Last of Us Part 2's soundtrack, "Through the darkness, find the flame." Followers speculated that the choice was intentional, a subtle nod to the game's themes of vengeance and disillusionment. The deletion of content wasn't limited to her own accounts. HBO-affiliated pages also appeared to distance themselves, with Ramsey's interviews and features mysteriously buried or edited to minimize her visibility. PR experts analyzing the situation suggest this digital scrubbing was likely a coordinated effort, either by Ramsey's team to reclaim her narrative or by HBO to downplay her association with the franchise.
Going to age that much in, the 2 years it took between seasons. So in the show, Ellie still looks exactly the same, but is supposed to be 5 years older. Also, Ellie still acts exactly the same.
The absence of any direct statement from Ramsey has only fueled theories. Some believe she's bound by an NDA or settlement, while others argue her silence is strategic, allowing public sympathy to build before a potential tell-all interview or career pivot. What's undeniable is that the contrast between Ramsey's once vibrant online persona and her current radio silence paints a stark picture of an actress caught in the crossfire of Hollywood's unspoken wars. As Bella Ramsey's star dimmed, another actress's name began dominating conversations about The Last of Us's future. Caitlin Dever, the longtime fan favorite who had narrowly missed out on the role of Ellie years earlier. Leaked casting sheets and insider reports revealed that Dever had been quietly approached by HBO as early as late 2024, with showrunner Neil Druckmann allegedly championing her as the right fit for a grittier, more mature iteration of Ellie in potential future projects. The timing of these negotiations, reportedly occurring while Ramsey was still under the impression she'd continue in the role, added a layer of betrayal to the recasting that fans couldn't ignore. Social media erupted with side-by-side comparisons of Dever's performances in Unbelievable and Dopesick against Ramsey's portrayal, with many arguing that Dever's emotional range and physical resemblance to the older Ellie from the games made her a superior choice. TikTok edits featuring Dever's voice dubbed over Ellie's iconic lines went viral, while Reddit threads dissected every rumor about her potential involvement. The most damning leak, however, came in the form of alleged concept art for a Last of Us film reboot. Images of a weathered, battle-scarred Ellie that bore no resemblance to Ramsey's interpretation, but aligned perfectly with Dever's aesthetic. While HBO has yet to confirm Dever's casting officially, the studio's silence on the matter has been telling, with industry insiders interpreting the lack of denial as tacit confirmation. For Ramsey supporters, the swift pivot to Dever felt like salt in the wound. For critics, it was a long overdue course correction. Either way, the message was clear. In Hollywood, no role is sacred, and no actor is irreplaceable.
Caitlin has been nothing but supportive of me being Ellie, as I have with her being Abby. I was so excited when I found out that she was cast as Abby. I thought it was so genius because of, her involvement in The Last of Us.
The repercussions of Bella Ramsey's Last of Us exit extended far beyond the franchise itself, sending shockwaves through her professional prospects in an industry that prizes marketability above all else. Casting directors and studio executives, once eager to attach Ramsey's name to projects, reportedly began hesitating, with whispers of her being difficult to work with, circulating through Hollywood circles. One high-profile example emerged when Ramsey's team pitched an original series to a major streaming platform earlier this year, a project that was allegedly rejected not on creative merits, but due to concerns about the baggage surrounding her public image. An anonymous executive's blunt assessment, too much noise, not enough pull, encapsulated the harsh reality Ramsey now faced. In an era where PR crises can derail careers overnight, her association with the Last of Us controversy had rendered her a perceived liability. Even more telling was the deafening silence from former collaborators. Neil Druckmann, who had once publicly defended Ramsey against fan backlash, offered no parting words or acknowledgments of her contributions, a snub that industry watchers interpreted as deliberate distancing. The contrast with Pedro Pascal's trajectory was particularly striking. While Pascal leveraged his Last of Us fame into blockbuster roles and sustained industry goodwill, Ramsey found herself navigating a landscape where doors were quietly closing. The unspoken rule of Hollywood became her unavoidable truth. When a star stumbles, the town's memory is long, and its forgiveness is scarce. Whether this fallout proves temporary or permanent remains to be seen, but for now, Ramsey's career stands at a crossroads, with her next moves carrying higher stakes than ever before. Behind the scenes, HBO's handling of the Bella Ramsey controversy has been a masterclass in crisis management, one that prioritizes brand protection over transparency.
Like bonding experience between the two of us because we played the first game together, and then I played the second game with him up until we started playing Abby, and then I kind of bailed because that game is long.
Leaked emails and insider accounts suggest the network employed a multi-pronged strategy to mitigate fallout, suppressing negative press through media partnerships, amplifying positive coverage of The Last of Us's future projects, and carefully controlling the narrative around Ramsey's departure to frame it as a creative evolution rather than a punitive measure. Key to this effort was the strategic timing of leaks about Caitlin Deaver's casting, which diverted attention from Ramsey's removal by positioning Deaver as an exciting new chapter rather than a replacement. HBO's PR team also reportedly discouraged journalists from drawing direct comparisons between the two actresses in interviews, instead steering conversations toward the franchise's broader themes and future directions. Meanwhile, rumors persist that Ramsey was offered a substantial settlement in exchange for her silence, a common tactic in Hollywood to prevent disgruntled talent from speaking out. The effectiveness of these maneuvers is evident in the muted mainstream coverage of the controversy. While fan forums and niche outlets dissected every detail, major entertainment publications largely avoided framing the recasting as a scandal. This calculated approach underscores HBO's prioritization of long-term franchise viability over short-term accountability, reinforcing an industry truth. When studios and stars collide, the studios hold all the leverage. For Ramsey, the implications are clear. Her story will only be told if HBO allows it, and so far the network seems content to let the silence speak for itself. The Bella Ramsey recasting has exposed a deep rift within the Last of Us fandom, sparking debates that extend far beyond typical casting controversies. On one side, Ramsey's defenders argue that her treatment exemplifies Hollywood's toxic disposability of young talent, particularly women who dare to challenge creative decisions. They point to the gendered double standard in how Ramsey's on-set assertiveness was framed as difficult, while male actors exhibiting similar behavior are often praised as passionate. Social justice advocates have also highlighted the ableist undertones of some critiques, noting how Ramsey's neurodivergence, she has spoken openly about her autism, may have made her more vulnerable to industry ostracization. Conversely, critics of Ramsey's performance maintain that the recasting was a necessary creative reset, arguing that her portrayal failed to capture Ellie's evolution in the games and that Caitlin Deaver's potential casting honors the source material more faithfully. This faction often cites the commercial underperformance of Season 2 as validation for HBO's drastic measures. The debate has spilled into broader discussions about artistic integrity versus fan entitlement, with some questioning whether Ramsey was sacrificed to appease a vocal subset of gamers who viewed her as an imperfect vessel for their beloved character. Ethical concerns have also emerged about HBO's lack of transparency, with industry watchdogs condemning the studio's ghosting of Ramsey as unprofessional at best and exploitative at worst. As the lines between fandom, criticism, and corporate accountability blur, The Ramsey controversy has become a microcosm of larger tensions in entertainment. Who gets to decide when an actor's time is up and at what cost? The question now is not just what happened to Bella Ramsey, but what happens next. For her, for The Last of Us, and for an industry increasingly defined by its ruthless efficiency in cutting ties with perceived liabilities. Ramsey's path forward could take several forms: a defiant reinvention via indie projects that showcase her range beyond Ellie, a tell-all interview that shifts public sympathy decisively in her favor, or a prolonged hiatus as she waits for the industry's memory of the controversy to fade. History offers precedents for each. Actors like Katherine Heigl and Edward Norton rebuilt careers after being labeled difficult, while others like Megan Fox saw their trajectories permanently altered by studio clashes. For HBO, the stakes are different but equally high. The success or failure of Caitlin Dever's iteration of Ellie will determine whether the gamble to erase Ramsey pays off creatively and commercially. Early test screenings of The Last of Us film reboot, if insider reports are accurate, suggest Dever's performance is already winning over skeptics. But the shadow of Ramsey's abrupt exit lingers. Beyond this single franchise, the situation has reignited conversations about how studios handle transitions between actors, particularly in beloved IP. Should there be protocols for transparency, or is silent erasure simply the cost of doing business in an industry built on illusion? One thing is certain: Bella Ramsey's story is far from over, but its next chapters will be written on terms far removed from the spotlight she once commanded. Whether this becomes a cautionary tale or a comeback story depends on who gets to control the narrative. And in Hollywood, that's always the real battle.